Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Uh, Welcome to American Family Insurance Dream Bank, where we believe in the transformative power of dreams. I'm Madeline, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today. For those of you that are familiar with Dream Bank, welcome back. And for those of you that this is your first time joining us, welcome. Here at American Family Insurance, we believe communities are stronger and the future is brighter when people are actively pursuing their dream. That's why we created Dream Bank, an inspirational community destination and digital experience dedicated to dreamers everywhere. From our daily event series to immersive signature programs, there's something for every dreamer. Our offerings are designed to help you celebrate the dream journey, overcome obstacles, and stay motivated. Now, I'd like to introduce you to today's speaker. Nicole Gruter is the founder and owner of Positive Space, a downsizing organization business where she provides non-judgmental guidance, accountability, and motivation while working through the emotional layers of letting go. Weaving in her Master of Fine Arts, Nicole's video series, What's She Getting Rid of Today, brings levity to the often daunting task of letting go of everything from well-loved socks to old letters and photos. It all has a story. So please welcome back to Dream Bank, Nicole Gruter.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to start with a short survey. Question number 1. Is anyone here immortal? Now, I can't see you, but I'm going to assume that no one has raised their hand. And if you have, I would really love to meet you. That being said, second question, does anyone know when they're going to die? I'm going to take a wild guess and assume, again, that no one has raised their hand on that, same as the last question. And the final question, perhaps a little less dreadful of a question, is who is going to clean up after you once you're gone? You know? Who's going to turn off the light for you? Maybe you're thinking to yourself, I'm not old enough to be worrying about things like that, or I'm busy with my life. I don't have time to downsize. I want to ask if there's anyone who's joining us today who has already had the task of either cleaning out entirely or significantly downsizing the household of a parent or a loved one or a friend. And maybe put like a 1 in the chat, just the number 1, if you've already experienced some form of this, just to kind of gauge, where we're at. Oh yeah. The 1s are piling in. Okay. Wow. All right. So did you have the time when this popped up? Was it convenient? Was it enjoyable? Was it easy? Was it quick? These are some of the questions that I would like to pose when we start thinking about our own stuff. So how did you feel about the process when you were going through it? I'm saying no, none of that. Hi, Laura. Also Seth, no. Maybe write down some of the emotions that came with the process, if you can remember them, if you care to remember them. We often lament having to clean out the stuff belonging to other people. We recall the time, the effort, the money, the burden. Oftentimes there's a lot of travel involved. There's mental and physical energy. There's spiritual energy that is can be very draining. And with that, sometimes, feelings of resentment start creeping in, just utter frustration. And here we go. So anxious, overwhelming, frustrating, time consuming, right? All of that. So today I want to turn that focus onto ourselves, holding up a mirror to ourselves and to our stuff, and thinking about who is going to deal with our things and redirecting that energy that we have put out in spades possibly for other people's situations, and really thinking about our own situation, our own stuff, our own household. So does that sound kind of scary? It can be. It can be really scary. It can be really daunting. But today I will get you to a place where you are feeling confident, calm, and empowered rather than overwhelmed, stuck, and anxious. I help people downsize and work through the many emotional layers of letting go, the anxiety, the fears, the overwhelm, feeling stuck, feeling guilty, alongside the many logistics. Holy cow, are there some logistics? And we have to keep in mind, all of this stuff in our home did not appear overnight. It takes more than a few hours to contend with it all. It is a process, and it's a process that can begin at any time in life. I was just talking to Maddie right before we aired, and she was saying how, if I may share, how her attitude towards her approach towards objects is very different than her husband's, let's say. And so these are issues that can be talked about. She's much younger than I am. But these are issues that can be talked about at any stage and contended with at any stage. So there's time to be considered, and it is a process. And I think I'm going to transition into some of the stories that I have of some cases of clients. I'm seeing that a lot of people are agreeing it was a burden. It was heartbreaking. These are all very strong emotions that you're dealing with, alongside all the phone calls of helping people clear your space out. People are picking things up. Strangers are coming to sort through your things or to haul things away, or you're having to get a dumpster, or rent a vehicle, or all kinds of things that are happening alongside all these really heavy, strong emotions. So speaking of strong emotions, I had a client who I'm finally, we're coming to the end of working together. She spoke to her partner about this. Her father passed. Her brother was living in the house for a while, and then they had to clear out the house. So she talked to her partner about this very big task ahead of her, and they agreed that she would need to take off not a week, not a month, but a year off of work. There were extenuating circumstances, granted, that made this situation even bigger, but the downsizing of the home, the clearing out of the home, was a big component. We had been working together since April, diligently. Lots of money, lots of time, lots of decisions. And it wasn't just the time and money, but it was the emotional toll that it took on her it was palpable. And I had a lot of empathy for it, because I've been through the same thing. I'm going to get to that in a second. So, this was affecting her life, her own personal life, her relationship with her partner, her downtime, which was none, basically, her energy levels, her perspective of how she perceived her father. Like, this was, she loved her father greatly, but this is also part of his legacy, is leaving this immense project to just her brother is unable to help, was unable to help. So it all fell on her shoulders, and it just isn't fair. It's kind of the bottom line. It isn't fair. I personally had a similar experience where I had to downsize my parents' home, my childhood home. It was at the very beginning of the pandemic. I was literally driving into town the day of the shutdown. If people remember that day, how could you not? And my father died 6 years ago. His second wife was still living in the home, but very suddenly had to go to assisted living. Wow, okay. I guess I will drive to Minnesota and start dealing with stuff. Her son also dealt with a huge portion of things. But I had to make no fewer than 5 trips back to Minnesota to deal with the many things. And I could only take off so much time, so many days at a time. I had to arrange, I borrowed a friend was very kind enough to loan me his van, but they're still arranging, picking it up, dropping it off. Just combing through that house. Same with the other client, the first client that I mentioned. Combing through everything, taking what I would like, trying to contend with what was left, the files, the books, the paperwork, the clothes, the artwork, the antiques, the just the daily stuff, the silverware, the gobs and gobs and gobs of kitchen things that had been collected over the years. Um, the vacuum cleaner, you name it, right? Everything that we have in our household and then some, all their interests and hobbies and whatever. It was truly overwhelming, and just made me realize what an important subject this is. And so that's why I'm here trying to just start a conversation in people's heads with people's families. It's not something like, hey, come on over. I'm going to die someday. So let's talk about where all this stuff is going. It doesn't have to be like that, but we are not immortal. And it is an imposition on other people's lives to do with your stuff. So just trying to, again, shift the focus towards our own lives, our own things and households, rather than thinking about, okay, I got to deal with mom's stuff, I got to deal with my brother's stuff, you name it. Another quick story. I recently had a client, she had to reschedule because her brother passed away. Not entirely unexpected, but you never really know when it's going to happen, right? So she is having to take everything out of his apartment. So there's a deadline. It's not just a house that can sort of stay empty for a long time, or she can come over whenever she wants. Got to be cleared out. Luckily, we had been working together for a while already, so she had space to put his things so she can kind of comb through them calmly with some time in her space. And this is all to say things move quickly. Life moves quickly. We never expect, we know everybody's going to die at some point, but we don't know when. We don't have it on a calendar. Wow. If we did, it would be both maybe, I don't want to say refreshing, that's not the right word. We could plan things a little bit better, but boy, we would live our lives very differently, wouldn't we? And then finally, a final story of some clients. I'm going to call him John. He was in his 40s and he had terminal cancer, and he had a newborn. I think the son was under a year old, it was a toddler. And the goal was to create some kind of, a bit of a time capsule for this son so that he could see things from his father that were important to him. What ended up happening more so was that it became when we were working together, it was a bit of a lifeline to some hope for the future that maybe he would pull through this. And there were the someday projects that he might get back to, maybe get back to the photography, maybe get back to listening to this CD collection and organizing it in the way that he wanted. It wasn't so urgent to create that time capsule. It was just maybe a coping mechanism, a process for him to kind of get his mind off of things for just a moment, even though we were still dealing with his things in a timeline that was not so hopeful. He passed away a few weeks after we got done working together. And I just can't help but think about how those last weeks of his life, he was dealing with his stuff. It makes it sound like I'm blaming him for not spending time with his family, but because that's not what I'm doing. But it's just something to reflect upon, and how our stuff can affect our time so strongly. And how is it what do we want to be spending our time on in our future, our near future and many years from now, hoping that everyone here lives a long and healthy life. All this to say is that it's later than you think. It is later than you think. So why downsize now? Just because of that. It's later than you think, and now is when we have control. We're capable of making choices to help with the inevitable. this is the time that you have control over decisions, where things should go. Plus you'll have, this is the best part, is that you'll have the wonderful experience of living with less now, enjoying the calm now. That's really the best part. This is, it's for your kids, for your offspring, for your friends, whatever, whoever lives after you, but it's also for you right here and now, and you will love it. It's just such a great feeling. I am going to quote, I'm going to introduce this book that is sort of a bit of my Bible. There is the Marie Kondo's The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. I'm sure you've all heard of this. And but there's this other book that fewer people have heard about, and I love it. It is by Margareta, I hope I'm pronouncing her first name correctly, Magnusson. She is Swedish, and it's called The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning. A bit of a jarring title if you're not accustomed to it. It's how to free yourself and your family from a lifetime of clutter. And she has something in here. Well, she has some great advice. She has a wonderful tone. Is very pragmatic and yet humorous. It's just a lovely read, regardless of if you're going to downsize. And she says, life will become more pleasant and comfortable if we get rid of some of the abundance, right? I mean, we still have to live. We love our things. I love my things. We need pragmatic things to live with. But really what I ask people is, to what extent? To what extent do we need the amount of things in different categories that we have? And that is what really can become burdensome for whoever ends up cleaning up after you. It's not just the one wooden spoon, it's the 14 wooden spoons and 6 sets of china. And, you know, I don't have to explain all this. You know. So with that, I would love if you would join me. We're going to do a little exercise here where we scan your home. If I can't see any of you, so if you feel a little goofy closing your eyes, I can't see you. I'm going to close my eyes. Whether or not you are in your home or not, you can just think about opening up your front door and seeing what's immediately in front of you when you walk in. Going to the next room, just slowly walking through the home, thinking about what's in the drawers, in the cabinets, in the cupboards, in the closet, under the bed, in the basement, in the attic, in the garage, in your storage unit if you have one, even in your car. Just thinking about all the spaces that you are in charge of, that you are responsible for, and sort of get a feeling, a sense of where certain places make you feel light and it's welcoming, and other spaces that might feel really just sort of heavy and you sort of avoid them, or it's maybe just a space that you're not really into hanging out in, or you don't want to deal with what's in there, or you don't even know what's in there. And just sort of settle in and think about which rooms in your homes or which spaces in your home delight you and daunt you. All right, we can open up our eyes again if they were closed. So someone at some point will have to pick up, pack, give away, or make some kind of decision for every little last thing in your house. So if there is any motivation here, know deeply that the process of downsizing now is a huge gift to others. It is a huge gift to yourself because it is just delightful to live in a downsized home. I'm not saying minimalist. I'm not saying sparse. Whatever is your vibe, your energy, your aesthetic is great. But a lot of times that can get carried away into just too much of everything. Okay, so let's make a plan while you're still able to. Oh yeah, that's one thing I was going to mention about my own experience and several, the client that I have been working with since April. You know, we are relatively young, hey, give me a break. And we're in relatively good health. Personally, I was able to, schlep boxes around drive long distances. I was able to have the time. I was physically able to contend with all the decisions, mentally, physically, all of that. Spiritually, it took its toll, but I made it through. So that's going back to that sense of control, where now we have the choices. Now we have the wherewithal to deal with all this stuff. So a plan. We often get a case of the some days. Someday I'll do this. Someday I'll do that. Someday. Well, when it comes to assessing what's in our house, someday is now, and it doesn't have to feel, like I'm not trying to instill fear, but it is definitely something just to start thinking about, if not taking action on. We can do the process of downsizing very slowly over time. We can do it a little bit every week, once a month, once a year, once every 5 years, but do it. That's really the most important thing. Okay, so I'm going to get back to this awesome book. Okay, so step number one. Have I already numerized these? Let's start with plan number one, or step number one. Get comfortable with the word death. Right? It's going to happen. It's really uncomfortable to talk about. I've had a lot of people pass in my life, so maybe I'm a bit, I don't know, irreverent about it to a degree. I don't know, but it's going to happen. So get comfortable with the word death. Pick up this book if you are so inclined. There's a part in here, in addition to her lovely writing. She has some very practical things in here, and I'm going to read some of the questions that she proposes that we ask our parents or loved ones or elders, if they are, they're getting old, and maybe you're kind of looking around their house thinking, oh boy, what's in store for me. These are questions to ask them to get the conversation started with them. However, I think these are also questions that we can ask ourselves. So she asks, with some tact and some grace and very gentle, also gentle with yourselves, ourselves. She asks, how many nice things, you have so many nice things. Have you ever thought about what you want to do with them all later on? We'll get back to that. Could life be easier and less tiring if we got rid of some of this stuff that you have collected over the years? Great question. And is there anything we can do together in a slow way so that there won't be too many things to handle later? Those are really great questions to ask, not only of others, but of our own situation. I can guarantee you later in life, you will not have the energy. You will be dealing with health issues. You will be dealing with wanting to hang out with friends, grandchildren, travel, just sit around and watch Netflix all day. That's on my agenda. And doing all this work, it's just, it can be a lot, but once it's done forever. And that's the point where we can start shifting gears and looking at how we start bringing in things, how we would start bringing things across the threshold. We have brought every little thing in your house, except for, the stove, the refrigerator, the washer and dryer. You brought that into your house, every little thing, or, your partner or your kids did or whatever, you know what I'm saying. You get my point. And let's see, where was I going with that? I lost my train of thought. Well, just that we have to contend with all these things at some point. Like I keep driving that home. So step number one, get comfortable with the word death, just in your own head. You don't have to talk about it a whole lot. Step two, assess what's happening in your house. If it needs downsizing, if you even, if you're feeling compelled or overwhelmed, to any degree, if it's, like think about it on a scale. Are you wanting to just kind of slowly go through things? Do you want to have a big session where you're really have some concentrated focus on things? Just start thinking about these things. you can refer to that visualization we did. If you were feeling particularly stuck in a certain part of your house, that can often happen in like closets, basements, attics. These are places that we put things we don't want to deal with or think about anymore, but we still hang on to it. Okay. Get comfortable with that. Assess what you own. Catalog important heirlooms. If you have them, or things that are sentimental to you that you would like to give to someone else, and you would like to impart the story of said item to somebody else. You can, I'm not visualizing like like a household full of post-it notes on every little thing saying this goes to Jack and this goes to Jane. I mean, that would be really something, unless you're really towards the end of downsizing, or you're moving, or you're really you can see the end of the end of the tunnel. You have the light at the end. You have the light at the end of the tunnel, and then you have the tunnel where it ends. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So cataloging heirlooms. I really try to have people just put it on paper. Once it starts going in the computer somewhere, there's passwords to deal with. There's technology that could change. There's who knows where it went. Is it on a Google Doc? Is it a this and that? If it's printed on paper in a 3-ring binder, it's there. You can see it. You start maybe telling the story behind it, a little bit of information about it, where you got it, why it's important to you, that kind of thing. That is one approach. And then go over these items with loved ones. A lot of times people, or especially kids, will love a certain item that maybe the parents don't care about at all. But to them, it's something very special. And then you could just say like, hey, I know we're all feeling great these days, or, or have relatively good health, but are there any items in this household that you would like to take into your home, now or later? Just start talking about it. And then there's the actual downsizing itself. Now we could have a whole hour just discussing the strategies about that. There's a lot of hints and tactics to make the process flow, to make it not so challenging, not so overwhelming, not so anxiety ridden. And so if you choose to really start going for it, begin with the low hanging fruit. No photos or paperwork. I personally find the kitchen is a great place to start. You can start with, like Tupperware or pots and pans, things that we might not feel quite so attached to, although there's some Tupperware that I own that I really keep track of. Just like it's the perfect size for your lunch. Anyway, yeah, that'll be in my will. I'll be like, and then this Tupperware shall go to my sister who lives overseas, and I'll mail it over there. That's not going to happen. But point being is start with low hanging fruit. Think maybe like tools, the garage, and then work your way to, clothing, paperwork, photos, that type of thing. There's a lot of strategies to deal with all of that. A lot of that information is online. I can share more information with that with people personally. I'm just giving a really broad overview of ways to start thinking about our own houses and downsizing our own houses for, as the title says, for the next generation. So really the crux of this talk is to just refocus how we think about our own environment, rather than that of our parents and all the other people that we've helped maybe downsize. One great question to ask while you're doing this work is, will anyone I know be happier if I save this? This is from Magnuson again. We have a lot of guilt about not keeping things. But people don't know what you have. If people kept track of every gift they gave you or whatever, that would be lunacy. We still need to honor and be conscientious of what we do own, and the manner of which we let these things go. And these are processes that I help people with all the time. Sometimes people are very clear. No, I don't want it. Yes, I want it. No, I don't want it. Yes, I want it. And then there's other items or people dealing with these items that, it's just really, they know they want to downsize and let go of a few things, but they just have to process it. They have to tell the story. They need a witness to letting certain things go. That's huge. Sometimes when we just let things go to St. Vinny's or Goodwill or whatever, there's that anxiety, like, the story it's nobody will know the story behind it. But then we talk about the story, and it helps alleviate, it can help alleviate that anxiety and that sort of that unknown feeling. And another great question to ask yourself is it easily and inexpensively reobtained? That, if you have 5 rulers and 6 boxes of paper clips and that kind of thing, consider letting some of that go. Those are things that can be bought once again. That gets you over the case of the what ifs. There's the case of the some days and a case of the what ifs. What if I need it someday? What if I could use it? What if I can't find it again? What if I don't have enough money to repurchase it? What if? But if they're common items and they're inexpensive items and you find them pretty much anywhere, consider letting them go. Okay, this whole process will either take your time or it will take the time of someone else. Do not assume that your loved ones will be happy about getting rid of your stuff. Everybody thinks their stuff is so precious and so important, and it is while you're living with it. But again, to what extent? To what extent do you own, XYZ, fill in the blank? If you begin this process, you are saving your loved ones precious time. You are leaving a different kind of legacy. It's almost sort of invisible, right? Like you wouldn't maybe notice if you walked into a particularly downsized, decluttered, easy, clean house, but you will notice this if you walk into the opposite. You're sparing others from making quite literally thousands of decisions about your stuff on your behalf. It's just, again, it's just not it's not fair. Can you tell that I've been through this before? Okay, so this is just the tip of the iceberg. Keep track of time here. Yeah, okay. So okay, get comfortable with the word death, much less the concept. Easier said than done. Assess what you have, catalog important either heirlooms or sentimental things that you would like to give to others, or maybe others would like from you. Go over these items with loved ones. You can even make it an event where you have friends or family over for a dinner, and you just talk about just that. Again, it can be a little uncomfortable to sort of get over the hump about, like, hey kids, guess what? I'm not going to live forever. But it can also be really enjoyable, and same goes with paperwork and photos, the really like sticky, heavy stuff, where you can make an event out of it and just say, hey, let's go through all these photos together. I mean, I know photos, right? Especially when they're all on our phones and whatever, but there are strategies. But you can start writing things on the back of photos if they're printed out, or make notes in certain books that are important, that kind of thing. You can make it a social thing, and that doesn't have to be all just you alone. That's really, please know that there are ideas, there are strategies, there is help. I'm hoping that I'm imparting some of that right now. Let's see, where was I? Oh yeah, okay. So going over these items with loved ones, the downsizing itself, asking questions of will anyone be happier if will anyone I know be happier if I save this? Is it easily and inexpensively reobtained? And all keeping in mind that you are saving someone else the time that you are spending on it now. So that's the gift. That's the gift, and it's a gift to yourself too, to live in this household that has that has less in it, just the bottom line. The Yeah, really, I do feel like the best part of this process is, I mean, yes, we're trying to make it for others, but it is in the now, the benefits of downsizing for yourself is that it's so freeing, right? It provides a calm home. You can find things more easily. You appreciate your space more. It's easier to have guests over. It's easier to clean, and it just feels great. It's just a great process to go through. The work itself, challenging, yes, but again, either you are going to have to deal with it or someone else. I want to see, we're doing pretty well on time. I am going to end this with a great, if I haven't driven it home enough, I'll give one more quote about this. This is again from Magnuson. You think I was on a book tour for her or something, right? I all this promoting and doing of hers, but really it's just that special, the book. I would love for her to get as much money from the purchases of this book as possible. And she says she's somewhere between 80 and 100. So that gives you an idea of sort of her sense of humor. I don't even know if she's still alive. Should find that out. Okay, so do not ever imagine that anyone will wish or be able to schedule time off to take care of what you didn't bother to take care of yourself. No matter how much they love you, don't leave this burden to them. So with that, I am going to thank Maddie and Hannah and DreamBank for having me back, and to the audience. And I want to open it up for questions. We have some time, so there's a lot to chew on here. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I was diving through the chat, so maybe between the two of us, everyone was commenting, which was really fun to see. But Holly has a question just right on top. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and I will read them. But everything feels sentimental. How do I get over this?
Ooh, one approach of many that I like to do is to have a different goal in mind. If you're feeling, Holly, I don't know if you're still here, but if you are, maybe you can answer. Or if you're feeling crunched for space, oh yeah, if you're still here, if you're feeling like you want something else from your home, if you have a goal in mind, I call it the why. You know, that this is an exercise that is done in many arenas. So you ask why. Why do I? Okay, so if your partner is feeling crunched for space, okay, I'm going to assume that you love your partner, that you make compromises in your space and in your lives for one another. If this is a gift that you can impart to them, that might be pretty awesome. That's coming back to the why. Like why do you want to downsize or get rid of sentimental things to make space? Or sorry, I'm putting the horse before the cart. Why do you want to get rid of things? Or I mean, the answer would be to make more space. Well, why do you want to make more space? Because I would love to have my partner be happier in our home together. Because I want us to argue less about this, because I love this person. And then you ask why of that again. You know, why do I love this person? And you can fill in the blank to that and keep asking why. And when you have that top goal in mind, you keep asking why, and you get just that kind of the kernel of it. And it's always way more personal than the initial thing, right? It's not really, what do they say in therapy? It's not the thing that's the thing or something like that, right? Like, so when somebody gets angry about you putting a dish down too hard in the kitchen or something completely ridiculous like that, it's not that, it's something else, right? There's something under the surface. So that's how I view this work. So it's not just, I want to have more space. Well, why? why do you want to have more space? And having that goal in mind can help with strategizing, with motivation, and with focus. So that's one technique. And sort of looking at your sentimental things. I know it's hard. Another suggestion is getting all your things, let's say a certain genre of sentimental things together. I don't know, let's say jewelry. That's kind of small, and really focusing in on each item individually, and prioritizing. You can prioritize. If you really want to create space, you have to let things go. There's no gray area. It's either there physically or it's not there physically. If you want to make space, you have to let things go. We can prioritize. You can give things away to people that you love. If you have a friend, a relative in mind, and you say, man, I wonder, when I see this, whatever it is, I think of this person. And not to like just dump all yourself onto other people, because that can be a problem too. But thoughtfully think, maybe someone, either someone that you know will love it, or my motto when I encourage people to donate is someone will love it. Someone will love it. You know, that feeling when you're in a thrift store and you see that one thing that you just love. It's a great feeling. So if it means something to you, it'll mean something to someone else. But if you are really wanting the space, you got to go for it. Okay. I can't hear you.
Are we year 3 and I still don't know how to unmute myself when I want to speak? Someone direct messaged me a question, so I'm gonna generalize it. But for someone that, when they look at their space and each room and each space just has stuff, they're a little overwhelmed by like where to start and like how to start, because one leads into the next. And so what do you do when the whole house needs to be tackled, and maybe even a storage unit? How do you get started?
Sure. First, take a big breath. Have some grace with yourself, some patience with yourself. Know that you're not alone, and you just really start from one corner and you go to the next. That's how I work with people. It's very challenging to keep on track with yourself, with your own stuff. Sometimes people work with friends, which is great. A lot of times you start going down memory lane or into stories, or distracted, or you get tired and you hang it up really quickly, that kind of thing. But if you are really motivated, you can just stick really clearly with one corner, and before moving on, you just put a button or a bow, a bow and a button on that corner, whatever is in that space. We're trying to create homes for everything, right? If everything has a home, then we know where it goes, regardless of how much stuff you have. If everything has a home, you can put it away quickly. If things are just sort of randomly everywhere and they never had a home, and a certain closet or cupboard or drawer or spot on the floor, then that's a challenge. So we want to create homes for everything, simultaneously downsizing with things. If you don't have the thing to make a home for, it alleviates the need to find a home for it, right? It alleviates the decision. One other approach is to start with surfaces. It is very difficult to keep surfaces clear, but we can just try it for like an hour. Like 1 hour of our life, we will look at my table, and okay, I know that this has to go back to the living room and the bookshelf. I know that the sticky note pad needs to go into that drawer over there. That is what happens when you have everything as a home. It's a habit. You want to keep doing the habit. It's like with any habit, you got to keep trying and trying and trying again. Don't get discouraged. These habits did not happen overnight. They're not going to clear up overnight. Have some grace with yourself, and know that it's a challenge for a lot of people. But again, the less you have, the fewer items you have, the fewer places you need to figure out where they go. So I feel like all my answers are very long-winded. I could talk about this stuff forever. I love it. I really dork out on it.
So another question came in And I actually really identify with this question. So I thank you to the person that direct messaged me this. What do you do if your partner or the people that you live with, i.e., kids and things like that, are not into downsizing, but this individual is? So, like, I myself, when in doubt, throw it out is the motto I live by. But some people don't, especially my household. Do my husband and I fight all the time. He still keeps the broken ring box that he proposed to me with. And I was like, I'm never putting my ring back in there. I have 3 dishes around the house that I put it, like, it is a broken box. Why are we keeping it? But it is in a drawer in some random room of our house. So I can really identify. So what do you do when you want to downsize, but other parties in your household are a little more resistant?
Yeah, they're not on board. Well, the bad news is that you can't force it. Um, People are either ready or they're not ready. And when people, as many people may have already experienced, if you start throwing things away that are other people's, not your own, but other people's, boy, that is a recipe for disaster. People get resentful, and then there's a fight on top of a fight, and it gets really sticky. Um, what I suggest is to just it's tricky when people are cohabitating, but there can be possibly some spaces that are just yours in the house. I don't know, maybe, or you can create that where where everything in that space is orderly, let's say, or organized to a degree that you are comfortable with, and that you can start keeping your, let's say, wardrobe downsized or your book collection downsized, or whatever it is. And sometimes I have seen it where partners they're sort of peeking in and they're like, oh, look at that. She seems to find everything when she's looking for it. Oh, look at that. She just has sort of an ease about her space, or whatever. Again, it's difficult when you're cohabitating. You can impart to the others in your life just how important it is to you. There is always going to be compromise, but maybe again start with the low hanging fruit. Like, maybe we don't need to keep all the water bottles in our house. Maybe we don't need to keep all of the books, all of the whatever it is. And then just inch by inch, sometimes you'll see a little bit more space open up, a little more breathing room, a little bit more calm. You can find things more easily. It's easier to clean, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's not like the most, it's not foolproof, this advice, but it's a starting point. It's a starting point.
So what you're telling me is that I might have to wait a little longer for my husband to clean out his high school treasures in our basement.
Uh, Kind of, yeah. If you start forcing that hand, it's just, it's not, they have to come to that decision, because again, back to that idea of control, where when we don't have when that decision, what am I trying to say, that the power of the decision is taken away from you, whether it be through partnership or through health or whatever, it sucks. It's just not a good feeling. And so eventually over time, if you can just do what you can, again, lots of compromise, but isn't that what a marriage is all about?
It is.
And he can have his space in the basement, and you can have your space in the basement, and there the two shall mix. And so if you can keep contained to his area and you to yours, then I don't know.
I think I can live with a messy basement because my husband lives with, I cannot figure out how to put the cap back on the toothpaste. It is just like, I just can't figure it out. So I think there are things, if he was on this call too, that he'd be like, all right, you give me the basement, I'll give you the toothpaste. So I can live with that. But a lot of the questions have slowed down. So if you have any last minute questions, please put it in the chat. But I also encourage everyone to take a minute into the chat. There's some great stories and just overall support in there, and some great testimonials and things like that. So I really appreciate everyone tuning in and engaging with the content today. And all the questions thus far have been answered, which is really wonderful to see. And like always, you can reach out and we will connect you and continue on. But this is just so important. You have to create space even to dream, and then also passing things off to others. But I know I took a lot of notes. I personally love, I've moved a lot. So, and I'm a fairly lazy person, so I only want to carry so many boxes. So that has really helped me declutter and things like that. And I didn't grow up with a basement, so the fact of a storage area is something I'm still getting around. But my husband really loves to hold on to everything, which is a really fun balance. Though at the end of the day, we've had some fun conversations going through some things. But I just appreciate everyone coming in and wherever you are at in your journey, we are here to support you. But thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you, one and all, and thank you, Maddie. Thank you, DreamBank. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.